Hello, hello, and welcome to our Caspio Live. If you can hear me okay, please let me know so that we can begin today's content. So, welcome back, everyone. Loud and clear. Hey, Josh, good to see you. Steven, good to see you as well. And by see you, I mean see you, since I can't really see you guys. Well, anyway, Happy New Year. Happy 2024. I know the last live stream we had was last year in December, so welcome to 2024. Hopefully many of you made some New Year's resolutions, for 2024. I always have the same one for the past 15 years. That's to eat healthier and lose some of my weight. I may appear like I have a slim figure, but I do have a bit of a weight to lose. And my New Year's resolution is always to work out more, put on some more muscle. But as you can see, I've had that resolution for the past 15 years. It hasn't really panned out yet, especially when you see the image in front of you. For today's business directory, I picked, hamburgers and fries as one of my restaurants. But anyway, the burgers look good. You're hungry? Okay, good. I apologize for the lack of sample data. We only have one business listed in the directory, but maybe we can add some more in today's presentation. Hey, Judith, good to see you as well. Lucas, you look good for the man of 60. I'll take it. Age is just a number. 60 is the new 40 in my case. All right. Now, before I begin with today's presentation and a demo of the app that we're going to be developing, I do want to comment on the YouTube comment that I received a couple days ago. So let me just pull that up regarding progressive web apps, or PWAs. Now, we have done something like this previously for some clients through our professional services team. A PWA basically mimics a native mobile application. So if you click on the little icon, it's not an actual native app you download from the store. It's still run through the browser, but it looks and behaves like a native application. And the comment that says here to use a manifest.json file with the HTML data page and embed another data page as an iframe is possible. We've actually done something similar in the past. However, keep in mind that PWAs typically have offline capability. You won't be able to do that with Caspio. It has to be connected via the web. You have to have access to the internet. So while it can look like a native application when you load it, it has to have access to the internet. Okay. One more thing that I want to point out is that today, with the responsiveness, you can still make it look and behave like a mobile app, because the browser will shrink, and then you have that little burger menu to access the menu. So it's built from a mobile. It just doesn't behave and look like a native app. So there's pros and cons, right, to both. I would say that even with the responsive, if you're on your phone and you load the browser and you go to your application, it's going to look mobile because everything shrinks, right, for that width of the mobile screen. And you can still bookmark the URL to your phone and convert that into an icon. So I just want to make sure people know that. So if you click on that icon on your phone, it's going to load the browser, the web page, and you're going to have a mobile looking application. It just won't be a PWA, which you can download, and it looks and behaves like a native application. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, but if you do a little bit of research on that, you will see the difference. So yes, it is possible, even with this, the instructions given in the comment, you can do that. I haven't personally done it. I know our PS team has done this quite a few times for clients, especially media clients. But yeah, experiment with it. Maybe if I have the time, I can do a little more exploration on this and figure out how we can bring this into Caspio for a live stream. But just remember, even with the PWA and Caspio, there won't be any offline capability. All right, so hopefully that answers the question. If not, again, you can always send me an email directly if you want to piggyback up on this conversation and ask me more questions about it. All right. Now let's dive into today's content, which is building a business directory. I received a request. Typically, when I do these live streams, I bring in requests from clients that come in and send me an email. So it's not the exact use case, just because the business directory is for different types of businesses. But in my use case, I'm using restaurants for a local business directory. And again, I always say this, just in case we have new people in the live stream, we don't focus on the aesthetics in the live streams. We only focus on the functionality, the workflow. Okay? If I wanted to, I can spend maybe 2 or 3 more days to make things look much nicer. And we have covered that in the previous live streams. So if you look for things like HTML and CSS with Caspio, you will be able to see how we manipulate Caspio's data pages to make them look much nicer, professional looking for the web. In the live stream, I don't have that kind of time, so I really focus on the functionality, and then I let everyone else watch previous live streams to learn how they can modify the look and feel of the web apps. All right, so let's take a look and see what we have here. So I only have one listing in my sample data. On the public side, people can go to the website and be able to search by business name, city, state, zip, and cost level, right? Because you have food that doesn't cost as much, and then you have much more expensive restaurants, similar to Yelp. In the details, before I go into the restaurant details, here you have some information about that business, and then we have the cost, and we also have average rating. Now, what they're going to do for their application, use a little bit of JavaScript to mask or manipulate that number 4 to look like 4 stars. I'm not going to do that in my demo, but just know that you can do that. Okay, so you can convert the calculated value into stars. So just like Yelp or some other review website, you don't actually see a number 4, you see the actual stars. And then in the details, we can see some more information. We have the image, the main image. If we wanted to display that, we have information about that business. We also have the menu, and then anybody can leave a review for that business. And the owner of that business has the ability to respond to a review if they want to. So for example, I can say, Sam Baker, review, great food, thank you. And then we'll see rating of excellent, hit submit, and then we have that rating posted. And then back on the directory, you will now be able to see the average is now 4.33. Now I could go into my localizations and limit to how many digits are displayed after the decimal. So I would probably put 4.3, which is something I didn't do. All right. And now as the owner, I can log in. And before I log in, if you're a new owner, you can sign up, create an account, register your business with your own owner info. But once you log in, we have Mike. I forgot my login information. Give me 1 second. Where is my email? mike.burger@mikes.com. Yeah, so let me just copy that. Come back here. Test 1, 2, 3. Oops. Test 1, 2, 3 exclamation. Once I log in, I can update my profile. I can include additional menu images, change my name, my email, and I can unpublish my business if I no longer want that to be visible in the directory. And also what I can do is I can go into reviews, and here I can see the reviews that people have posted about my restaurant. So here's the latest one that came in from Sam Baker, and I can click edit, and here I can provide a response. Thank you for the review. We appreciate it. And hit update. And then on the front end, so if we go back to the business directory and we go back into the details, I will be able to see that response as the person that left the review. Now, again, we can make this look so much nicer. And if, like I said before, if you have attended my previous live stream, we know that we can use HTML blocks in the data page to organize our data and apply a little bit of inline CSS or reference an external CSS to improve the look and feel of how this data is displayed on the front end. Okay, so it's a simple application. We have 8 data pages we're going to build today. So if there are no questions, we can go in and we can develop this very quickly. I will go over my tables like I usually do. I don't want to bore you by creating tables from scratch. It's a very simple application. We only have two tables. We have the table for reviews and we have table of businesses. Inside my businesses table, we have the business ID, name, all the information pertaining to that business. We have the menu, which are file data types. Okay, this is the main picture of the business that they can use as an avatar or profile. And then we have the owner information that's tied to that business. So we have the email, owner name, they create their password, date registered, and directory status, which controls if that business is going to be listed in the directory or not. So that's one table. Email is going to be unique because each business that signs up has to have a unique email. You're never going to have two different businesses with the same email because it's different ownership. And then my second table for reviews, we have some more information inside this table. We have the review ID. We have business ID because you need to associate the review to the business. It's a one-to-many because one business can have many reviews. We have the reviewer name, review itself, what score they left. That's going to be a number data type because we want to store that as a number so we can compute the average. Date posted, and then the response. So the response by the owner, the actual response, and date replied. So that's the information we want to capture inside the reviews table. And then lastly, we have the authentication that allows the owner to log in with the email and password so they can update their profile and also be able to respond to reviews. All right. So now let's build out all the data pages. And we're going to begin. Actually, I do have my all my pages set up. Give me 1 second. Let me just ed demo index.html. I hope that I moved them. Yeah, I haven't moved them yet into my some app. So let me bring this in here and let me find my folders. Just give me 1 second. BD live, BD demo. Here it is. Okay, it's quick. Index. All right, so we have all of our placeholders on these web pages. I downloaded a very simple Bootstrap template for this use case. We have everything set up. All we need to do now is build our data pages and embed them into our website. So let's go ahead and do that. I will begin by setting up the registration form for new business owners to add all the business information and create their own account info. So let's create a data page. We need a submission form, and we're going to link that to our businesses table. And let's call this registration form. Let's call it business registration. For my style, I'm going to use the blue style. You can use any style that we give you. These are some preloaded styles that we provide, but you can fully customize your own style for your own look and feel, where you can change your labels, buttons, fields, or anything else. Localization is all about regional settings, so you can translate the form to a different language, or you can change the formatting of the date, currency. All depends on the region where you deploy the application. It's going to be a public-facing form, so there's no need to apply any kind of authentication to it, right? So anybody who comes to our website as a business should be able to sign up. Initially, I like to move all my fields because you're more than likely going to have a need for all these fields in the registration form. However, in this case, a lot of these can be removed. So as a business, I want to, list my name, provide my address info. Picture can be added later, once they log in. I just want to get them through the door by signing up. And then when they log in, they should be able to complete their profile. Usually when it comes to registration forms, you want to keep the number of fields to a minimum. Right? You don't want to overwhelm them by having too many fields, then they have to spend all day filling out the form. You get them in, then they go to their profile, and then they can fill out the rest of the fields and publish their business into the directory. Same thing with cost. All the menu file types can be removed. We definitely want email, owner name, password, date registered, and directory status to be on the registration form. So let's hit next. I will add a very simple HTML block because I want to say business info. We'll highlight the text. bold, and maybe make it a little bit bigger, heading 3. I want this heading to appear above my business information, and I'm going to add one more HTML block. Right over here, I will copy my text from this HTML block, paste it here, make that heading 3, and I will just say owner info. Now for the business info, we have the business name. I'd like to make that field required. In fact, all of these fields are going to be required. City, state, zip, phone. You don't have to make them required, but I think in this case, if I'm providing my business info, we probably want to collect that information. Owner name, I can probably move ahead of my email field. So owner name is definitely going to be required. Email is automatically required because it's unique inside the table. We have our password field. That's also going to be a required field. And then date registered is going to be a timestamp. And directory status is going to be a hidden field. But I want the owners to be able to log in right away as soon as they register. Okay, so on load, make sure that it's checked, meaning that when you submit the form, even though it's a hidden field, it's automatically going to check that box in your table, which is going to allow, I'm sorry, that's not right. This doesn't actually belong under registration. I was thinking about the status. Usually I have the status field in the registration form to allow people to log in. This is actually to list the business in the directory. So this field does not need to be on the registration form. So that's my mistake. Okay. Usually when you log in and you see an update profile page, that's when you at the bottom, you can check that box to list that business in the directory, not on the registration form. Okay. So now let's go ahead and hit next. And then maybe you can compose a message here for confirmation to say something like this. You have successfully registered. Please log in to complete your profile or something like that and list your business in our directory of 10,000 users. Thriving local community of 10,000 people that can view your business. Okay, so let's hit finish and save. And that's our first data page. We can go ahead and deploy that now. We'll grab the embed code. We will go into my notepad where I have all of my pages, and I have my web page called registration. And all I'm going to do is replace my placeholder text with the Caspio data page, save my page, and then using WinSCP. You can also use FileZilla. For me, it's easier to use WinSCP. And then inside that directory, demo, I will just move over my registration page. And now on my front end, I don't have access to it. I have to type in registration directly in the URL. But later on, when I build my login screen and I deploy my login screen, there will be a link there that says new owner, ? Click here to register. And that's going to take me to this page called registration.html. All right, so to me, that looks okay. Can I make it look much nicer? Yes, absolutely. We can make this look so much nicer. But again, we're just dealing with the functionality. So now new business that comes in, they can fill out all this information, owner info, hit submit to go ahead and sign up. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and just, well, we'll come back. We don't need to do that at this point. The next thing we're going to create is the ability for the user to log in, to be able to update their profile and also manage all the reviews and respond to reviews. So you've seen me do this before. We create a HTML data page, this one here, to redirect the user to the actual page once they provide their credentials. So what we're going to do is call this login redirect. I will use the blue style, same as before, English, and this time I want to restrict access, so I want to apply my authentication. Hit next, and then we're going to disable the HTML editor, and all we need to do here is put in one single line of script window.location equals, and then in quotes, we're going to say profile.html, closing quotes, semicolon, and close the script. And all the script is doing, once it recognizes the credentials of the people that are logging in, it's going to take them to this page called profile.html. That's it. It's just a redirect. Okay, now you can expand upon this script. We have this in our how-to in our knowledge base. If you want to have a single login screen that redirects people based on the role in the table. So if you're an admin, if you're a supervisor, if you're a manager, depending on your role, you're taken to a different URL. But it's just a single login screen on your login page. Okay. Because I only have owners, there's really no role field. There's really no need for me to expand upon the script. There's just one single user group. All right, so we're going to deploy that. Let's grab our embed code, and we have my web page called ownerlogin.html. So we're going to paste this here, save. We need to go to WinSCP and push that page so it's live. Owner login. Let's come back here, reload. So now when I click on owner login, you will be able to see that login screen. Okay, and inside my authentication, I will show you how I did that in just a moment, but you can see I have this don't see your business, register now, and it takes me to the registration.html page that we just created and also deployed our form to. All right, so let me show you how this was created inside the authentication. So let's go down to that object, click edit. And it's very easy. All you do is insert an HTML block from this pull down menu. And inside that HTML block, I have a very simple text. Don't see your business. And then you create the link to take the user to the registration page. Now, what you could do, even on the directory page itself, I mean, it's up to you, right? You could have a button or you can have a link or something here that says new owner, click here to register, and that takes them directly from that page. It'll take them directly to here. In my use case, I have them going from the login screen. There's so many different ways of going about that. All right. Next thing we're going to do is create that update profile page. Now, I already have this sample user in my account, in my table. If you look, when I made a copy of my application that I developed in the first place, I made a copy of all my tables and all the data. So if I look inside this table of businesses, you will be able to see Mike's Burger Bar, because that's my sample data set from the live demo that I gave you at the beginning of the live stream. But now I have it in my copied application as well. So now I could actually just use that same information to log into this app that we're developing today. So I will log in and you will see you will see update profile. So now we need to build a data page for Mike to list his business inside the directory. So very simple. We go back to data pages. We create our third data page, and this time we're going to build an update data page. Okay, because the information already exists in the table. When you registered in the first place, okay, as a new business, you will have your information in the table. All we need to do is update it, because we now need to update it with the menu, cost of the food, and I can't remember what else we can update on the profile page. Maybe we want to update our address or business name if we change to a different business name. So let's go with the update data page, click next. The data source is going to be the business table, because that's where all the information is going to reside. And we can call this update profile. Again, I'll use the same style, same localization, restrict access, because you need to be logged in before you can update your profile. We're going to hit next. And then you want to be able to find your business information using RLS, record level security. So that needs to be business ID to business ID. Okay, because you only want to be able to update your own business information. You don't want to be able to see the information for another business. Okay, that's not good. Okay, that won't be secure. All right, so we're going to hit next. And now what information you want to update. In this case, I know I'm going to need most of these fields. Okay, because I need to be able to update the menu. I need to be able to provide an image of my business, all that information. We're going to hit next. So business ID, I don't necessarily need to have this visible in the profile page, so I can remove that field. Business name, yeah, I would like to be able to update my business name if needed. Okay, a lot of restaurants change their name to something else, so we should be able to do that as well. Yeah, we should be able to update the address. Let's say on the registration form, you had a typo and you put a wrong address. I should be able to update that. City, Again, a lot of these are up to you. You can make these optional as well. I'm just going to make them required because I did provide that information on the registration form. So therefore, if I leave this unchecked and I remove my city and I hit update, now in the business profile page, there won't be a city listed, right? It's going to be an empty field. So that's why we force people to input some data in there before they hit update. We have the state field, same thing. Zip code field, same thing. Phone number field, same thing. And then picture. I think picture, we can move this to the very top, right? And then we're going to say file. We want to display it as an image, and maybe we want to have the width be 300 of our image in the profile page, which allows me to update the image with a different image, but I want to be able to see a certain width of that image in my profile page. Again, all of this is completely up to you. Now, one thing that I will do here is I will leave this not required. You'll see why in just a moment, because we're going to use the checkbox down below that when I decide to publish this business into a directory, we're going to use the rules to make that field required. Okay? Which is kind of a cool workflow thing that we have in Caspio, that if I check the box, publish to a directory, it verifies and checks that every single field that we need to be filled out is going to do that. It's going to require those fields for you to fill in before the listing, before the business goes into the directory. Okay. So for now, we're going to leave this unchecked. Then we have the cost. Cost is going to be a drop down. Let's see. Yeah, so we're going to say custom values. Now, this is the reason why you should always have lookup tables. It makes things so much easier, but I'm going to have to add custom values, and we're going to say select cost level, maybe delete the value, new, and then we're going to say $1, $2 symbols, 3, and depending on how expensive that restaurant is. So the owner decides what category and how expensive their food is. They can probably compare that to the market and see what cost is going to be. Again, that's going to be a required field, but we're going to use the checkbox down below to make it required once we check this box down here. Menu 1, let's have this be a file, display it as an image so that we can replace the menu with something else. And yeah, once again, we're going to use the checkbox down below to make this field required once we check this box. Menu 2, file, image. Also, you may want to adjust the width and height. So why don't we say menu can be 500 pixels and the height will just adjust itself based on the width, what the original image was when you uploaded it into the system. All right, so we'll say 500, and menu 3, also file, display it as an image, 500 pixels. And then we have all the owner information. So owner name, display text field, make sure that's a required field, of course. Email field is going to be an email special element. It's automatically required. And then we have the password field, which they should be able to update as well. Now for the password field, I don't really like using the password field in my update profile page. That should be its own data page. If you just want to update your password, you can go to a different data page to do that. The reason why is because on the password field, you always have to input, you should always input the original password that you created and then be able to change it to something else. Now imagine if you were simply just updating your business name. It's going to ask you to input your current password. It's always going to ask you to do that. It's a security thing. So that's why I recommend don't use the password field in your profile pages. Create a separate data page to allow them to just change their password. Okay. Date registered, we don't need to display that. And directory status. So this is the checkbox. We're going to make it a checkbox, and then we're going to say check to publish to directory. So now we're going to use the rules tab and say that if directory status is checked, I want to require that picture field. So it means that they have to put in like their main photo or avatar or profile photo of their restaurant. Okay, so we're going to require that field. I also want to require the cost field, and I also want to require menu 1. I only want to require one image for the menu. The other two can be optional. It's up to them. But if I publish something into a directory, I at least want to have one menu image listed in the profile page on the public side. The other two, it's up to them. Like I said, it's optional. These two. And that's it. So we're going to hit finish and save. And let's go ahead and deploy this. Grab our deploy code. And inside the notepad, we're going to go to profile, replace my placeholder text, and publish that page. So we'll find the profile page, move that live. All right, let's refresh, and we should be able to see Mike's Burger Bar. All the things that we just developed. Now, take a look and see what's happening then. Right now, it's listed in the directory, right? So if I uncheck this box, you can see the picture field is no longer required, and my cost is no longer required. So if I leave it like that, okay, let's say I made a mistake. Oh, I accidentally changed the cost level to something else. And if I try to hit update, it won't let me, okay? Because I have, well, it's not, what I'm saying is not displayed in the directory just yet. But if I check this box, you can see it's now making that field required. So you have to select something here in this dropdown. So if I hit update, it won't let me. You can see that it's a required field. I have to now choose what cost level, because this information is going to be required on the public side for users to be able to see. So then I would choose my cost level. Okay. So I do want to publish this. So I'm just going to list this as $2 signs and hit update so that we can have it on the in the business directory. But if I go to my business directory now, you will see there's nothing developed yet. So now let's build that directory so users can find that local business. So we are going to create a new data page. And this time we're going to be building, and it's up to you what layout you want to select. I'm going to go with the gallery layout. Usually if I'm displaying images of a business or real estate property, I always like to either use gallery or list. Tabular is usually good if you have a summary of your data and you're using maybe like 1 or 2 words per column. Because if you have an image here listed on the left-hand side, it may make some rows look taller, it may make some other rows look smaller, and the image won't be as big. So I don't recommend using tabular if you're displaying images. But let's go with gallery and hit next. Again, my data source is the business table, and let's call this business listings. Use the blue style, localization of English. Definitely don't restrict access to it. This needs to be public facing. Okay, anyone should be able to search for businesses. All right, so we want to have a search form. I want the results to appear underneath the search form, and I want to display all the restaurants on the initial load. We're going to hit next. Let's search based on business name, maybe city, state, and zip, and cost level. Right? I only want to find food that doesn't cost as much. Or I want a 5-star, something fancy, that costs a lot of money. Now we have 5 different search fields. I'm going to use the section element, and I'm going to say I want 5 columns. I want the label to appear on top of my fields because I want to be able to see all the search fields across in a row. I don't want to see them one on top of the other because that creates a lot of empty space on the right side. For business name, we can use something called autocomplete. Contains. Autocomplete is like Google search. If you start typing, it's going to show you all the options you have inside a table. And then as you continue typing, it removes other options. So very, very useful to be able to pull data quicker. For city, just to speed up on time, we're going to use contains comparison type for the rest of these. Remember the state field, you can also use a dropdown. It's up to you. Zip code field contains, and cost, we're going to turn this into a dropdown. Again, why it's so useful to have lookup tables. Now I have to add this manually in here as custom value. So we're going to say any cost. Delete the value. You're not looking for that, but we are looking for the dollar symbols, which exist in our table. All right. And that's good enough for the search form. Let's continue. Now on the results page, I would like to display the main image for that restaurant. I want to display the business name, and I'm just going to borrow and remember what I did here in my live demo. let me see so business name, city, state, zip, phone, cost, average rating, which we'll talk about in just a moment, and restaurant details. All right. So we have business name, city, state, zip, phone, cost. And for average rating, obviously we don't have a field for that, but you will see how we go about using some simple SQL to get the average from the reviews table once we develop our reviews table later on. For now, all we're going to do is say insert an HTML block. I'm going to move that all the way down, and I will just say business details. I will highlight my text. I will use this icon for link, and we will just say, let me just make sure to know what I called my page. I called it, I think, business listing details. Okay, that's the name of my page, listing details. So listing details.html question mark. And what we need to do is we need to pass the business ID to the details page. The reason why is because when you're leaving a review, which you'll see later on, we have to know for what business we're going to leave that review for. So the review form needs to receive the business ID and stamp the business ID in the reviews table. Okay, so that therefore we need to pass the business ID. That's my parameter name, BID, which stands for business ID. And then we insert the business ID that we pass in the URL and click OK. So that now turns into a link. So every time you click on that link, it takes me to listing details.html. But in the process, it's passing the business ID, which we're going to be receiving on that details page. I'm going to hit next. Let's have 4 columns. So it's going to appear as a 4x6. So list 24 records, but we have a 4x6 grid. And in the advanced tab, we're going to say hide. I don't like to display the record count for any of my applications. I don't know why. I always like to hide the number of records displayed. We hit next, and then we're going to say no details page because we're creating a custom details page. And hit finish. So let's take a look. Let's deploy it. Grab our embed code. And inside a notepad, we are going to say on the index page, right here, we of course need to push that page live and then reload. All right, so one thing I need to do is I like to disable my sorting. I don't have to. You could also leave that in there. I want to remove my label, and I definitely want to change the width of this image. It's too big at this point. So let's go back to my data page. There's one more thing that I forgot to add to my search form, which is very important. And that is this checkbox, business directory status. What you want to do with that is make that field hidden and have it be checked by default to only display businesses that are checked to appear in the directory. Otherwise, it's going to display all the businesses. Okay, so this is very crucial, okay, to include that in the search form. And then on the results page, we said, I don't want to label. I want to appear as an image. And what is the width that I want to use for this one? Maybe 250 pixels. Let's see what that looks like later on. And I said I wanted to disable the sorting capability. So let's go to the results page and say, oops, right over here, no interactive sorting, click finish, and let's see how that affects my, yeah, that's better to me. Now imagine if you had multiple businesses, right? You'll be able to see a grid, 4 columns by 6 rows, because we said we want 24 to appear in the listing. All right, so the next thing that we need to develop is our details page. Okay. I need to go back and change my URL very quickly here. So let's go back to business listings. One thing that you'll notice is when you create that link, for the very first time and you click on the link button and you add your URL here, if you click on the source button, you will see how Caspio automatically adds HTTP. All you need to do is just remove this with the 2 slashes like that. So now it's relative path. It's going to go to wherever that URL is in the directory. So we click finish. And now when I reload and click on that link again, it's going to take me to that page. Listing details. And here we need to actually deploy 3 different data pages. We need the listing details itself. We need the form to be able to leave a review. And we also want to be able to see all the reviews underneath the form. Okay, so 3 data pages. Let's go ahead and build them. First one is going to be business details. We can use the direct the details data page. Okay, we're going to hit next. Based off of the business table, let's call this business details. Style is going to be blue. Localization English. No need to restrict access because it's a public-facing details page. Anyone should be able to see it. Filter data based on predefined criteria. Why is that? Is when I click on that link, okay, listing details, I am passing the business ID in the URL. Just want to make sure everybody knows. I pass the business ID in the URL. Therefore, my details page is going to receive this business ID and show me the information that belongs to that business ID. So that's why I don't need to build a search form. There's no reason for me to see a search form here at the very top. We already know what business we clicked on, right? I clicked on Mike's Burgers, right? I passed the business ID, display me information that belongs to Mike's Burgers. That's why when you're developing your data page, there's no need for a search form. Okay, we just want to filter the data. And the way you're going to filter the data is by business ID field. So we hit next. And just a simple configuration here is needed. In the advanced tab, what you're going to do is say receive the value or parameter. We want to receive it externally. We call the parameter BID, and value must be required. The reason why value is required is because when you pass the business ID, you have to receive the exact business ID in the details page. It's required in order for you to display the proper business, okay, which is Mike's Burgers in this case. If you say if empty, ignore criteria, now if you don't pass something in the URL, it's going to ignore that and display you some random business. Okay, so that's why value is required. And now what information do we want to display for that business? So we want the business photo, maybe business name, city, state, all of that information. Menu 1, menu 2, menu 3. Do we need to display the owner info? I don't think so. None of this information really needs to be displayed about the business. Okay, so we're going to hit next. So now for the photo, we want to display that as an image. You can make that a little bit bigger if you want to, maybe 500 pixels. Again, you can say no label. It's obvious that's going to be an image, so there's really no need for a label above the image, right? We know that it's an image. We have our business name, address, city, state, zip, phone, cost, menu 1. So menu 1, I want to appear as an image, maybe 400 pixel width. And I know that at least one menu is going to make it into the profile, okay? Because that's the way we set up the update page. For the other two, yes, you can display it as an image, 400 pixels. Display this as an image, 400 pixels. But what you can say is, for menu 2, hide field if blank. That way you don't see the label, menu 2, menu 3. Same thing with this one, hide field if blank. Okay? Because it's an optional field. Some people may not, some business owners may not add the additional menus, right? So if it doesn't exist in the table, don't display that in the profile, right? It won't look right. And I think those are all the changes I would like to make. I don't need to navigate to the next previous records. Let's go ahead and click finish to save. And let's deploy our data page, business details. Hey, Jim, good to see you. Good to see you, Jim. All right, let's go ahead and display and embed my details page here in my notepad. So here is the listing details. You can see I have 3 data pages I want to deploy here. We're going to start with business details, save. Let's push that live. Listing details. And we should be able to see now the details of that business. Now, there's so many ways to organize how this information is displayed to make it look much nicer. For example, like these menus, what I would do, and I think what this client is going to do as well, is to have 3 smaller looking images listed side by side. But when you click on the image, we can use a light box to zoom in. Okay, that's a bit more dynamic. Okay, it's possible with a little bit of script. You can do that, and it will look nicer in my opinion. Okay, but I'm just showing you standard features in Caspio, what you can do given um, what the capabilities are of the platform today. But even with standard features, I could still make this look a little bit nicer, but with some simple inline CSS and HTML, you can really go to distance with how you organize and how you make things appear on the front end. All right, let's create our submit review form. So that's our next data page. We need a submission form, hit next, and this time we have a reviews table, because that's where when I submit the form, I want the review to go into that table. So we're going to call this leave a review form. Again, I will use my blue style, localization English. Anyone should be able to leave a review, so we keep that open. However, if you want to create some kind of an incentive for users, you can have them register and log in to leave a review. A lot of websites do that as well, okay, where you first have to create the account. So what you could do on the front end, before somebody leaves a review, you can have a button. Amazon does that. You can have a button that says leave a review. And then when you click on that button, you're taken to the registration form for the user to sign up, just like a regular casual user, not a business owner, because they have their own registration place. So you could have two different registration forms, one for business owners and one for just like a casual viewer who's leaving a review. So once they register and log in, now they're going to be able to come back to this page and be able to leave a review. But I'm making it open to anyone because those are the requirements that I received from this specific client, okay? Because they just want anyone to be able to leave a review without having to register. Okay, so we hit next. And I need, let me see, do I need all of these fields? No, I don't need all the fields. But again, I'm used to just including all the fields. And then when I'm configuring my fields, I realize then what fields I need to have and what fields I don't need to have. So business ID is going to be a hidden field. Received external parameter, BID. All right, so on the form, just imagine you have a review form underneath this image. We passed the business ID from the previous page. The form itself also needs to receive that ID, but it's going to be a hidden field. So when you submit the form, you're actually stamping Mike's Burgers ID into the reviews table. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Now you're associating that review with Mike's Burgers, okay? But you have to, on the form, be able to receive this ID as well. So that's why when I set up my data page, I have the business ID field as a foreign key in my review table, but we set this up so it's a hidden field and we receive that parameter name BID so that we can stamp it into the reviews table. Reviewer name, obviously I want to make this a required field. Review itself, it's going to be a text area. I don't need to see too many rows, maybe 3 rows. I want to make that field required too. For score, now I'm going to set this up as a dropdown. Again, you can see the benefit of using a lookup table. I don't have a lookup table, so I'm just going to quickly type this out. So we'll say select score. Again, this can be treated much differently. You could have something more dynamic where you can see stars, and as you hover over each star, it fills it in. If it's going to be 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, as you hover over each one of the stars. And that's what the client eventually is going to do. But I am giving you standard features in Caspio in my live streams. But with a little bit of manipulation with some JS, it's actually very easy to do that. You can even ask ChatGPT, and it'll tell you what script you can add into your footer, okay, which will appear down here below, what script you can add to convert that number into a star. So it's a little bit more user-friendly. So we will say, as my first option is going to be excellent. That's going to carry a 5 value. Above average, that's going to be 4. Let's see, maybe average, that's going to be a 3. We have below average, that's going to be a 2. And I apologize, I know I'm kind of tedious to enter all of these manually. And then we have 1. But again, as I said, if you have a lookup table, this is so much faster. Okay, it's much more efficient if you have a lookup table that contains all of these options for it. All right, let me think what else. That's good. Date posted is going to be a timestamp, and the rest of these fields don't need to appear on the form. That's for the owner to respond, but they're going to respond when they log into their account. Okay, so they're going to be able to see what the reviews are, and then using a tabular report or some other report, we can quickly respond to whatever people are leaving the review. All right, let me think. I will just have the form reload, same form. So as I submit the form is going to reload, but I'm going to be able to see my review underneath. And click finish. Good enough. Let's deploy it. Grab our embed code. Go into my notepad. And listing details, submit a review. So that's our second data page. In case you didn't know, you can have multiple data pages embedded in a single web page. So if you're building dashboards, that's one idea, right? You can have multiple charts. You can have a pivot table. You can have a search form. You can have creating a nice dashboard for KPIs and metrics and things like that. So let's go ahead and now push this page live using WinSCP or FileZilla. And we should now be able to see that submission form. Now to dress this up a little bit nicer, you can have a heading that says leave a review. So let's do that so it's not, it doesn't appear so close to my menu up here. So we'll say, back here to my form, we'll add a very simple heading using an HTML block, and we will say leave a review, highlight, bold, heading 3, and I'm just gonna, for now, I will just do it this way, where I hit enter twice. That's gonna create some padding above my heading. I'll hit finish and save, reload, and now you will see some spacing underneath the menu. If I didn't do that, this heading will appear directly underneath my menu. So leave a review. Reviewer name, review itself, and I can choose my rating for this restaurant. And 2 more data pages left to create. The next one is to be able to see all the reviews directly underneath. So we are going to set up another data page, and we will be done. Just in time. So for reports, let's go with the list layout. I recommend list layout if you have long text. It's much easier to read the data. Especially if people are leaving a review. It could be a long review, it could be a short review, but it's much easier to read in a list layout rather than tabular layout. Tabular has rows and columns, and if one review is bigger than the other or longer than the other, it's going to look skewed. It won't look good, right? Because one cell is going to look much bigger and another cell can look much smaller, but it's much more presentable to use a list layout. So based on the reviews table, because that's where all my data resides, let's call this view reviews. Style is going to be blue. Localization will be English, and hit next. Once again, we want to filter the data, okay, based on that parameter that we passed. Everything is tied to that business, Mike's Burgers, or some other business, right? So on this details page, I'm passing the business ID. Okay. My submission form is receiving that business ID. You don't see the field because it's hidden. Okay. But inside this form, there's a hidden field that's receiving this ID. So upon submission, this ID is stamped in my reviews table. Now the reviews itself are going to be tied to that business. So I need to receive the business ID in order for me to see the reviews that are associated with that business. Okay, so once again, we filter the data, our reviews, based on the business ID field. Okay, we're going to hit next. And in the advanced tab, same as before, we're going to receive external parameter BID, which is the name of my parameter, and value is required. Then we're going to hit next and simply say what information we want to be able to display as we're reading these reviews. So I want to be able to see the reviewer's name, the review itself, the score, date posted, and I also want to see this information too. Okay, if the owner replied to that review. So we're going to hit next. Next. However, there's a slight difference here. We're always going to be able to see this information, right? However, if the owner doesn't respond to a review, I don't want to see these fields. So in the advanced tab, we're going to say hide field of blank, hide field of blank, and hide field of blank. So if the owner never responded to that review, there's no reason for me to see those extra fields until the owner responds. Okay. But we can probably change these labels to look read a little bit nicer. Owner name, the response itself, and date replied by the owner. Next. Again, I don't like to display the record count, so hide that. I want to be able to see date posted, so show me the most recent review first. And no need for interactive sorting. Click next, and no need for a details page because we're displaying everything already. So hit finish and save. And let's deploy this. Copy that, and then inside my Notepad++, the final data page, save and push it live. All right. Everything should come together. Now, I think I had some reviews already. That's why you see these 2 reviews down below. Okay. But that's really all there is to it. You can see how, as an owner, I responded to this review because I got a score of a 3. Here I got a score of a 5, so I felt like, it's already a good review. There's no reason for me to respond unless I absolutely have to. So yeah, it's very simple. Now, one thing that we will develop next, yeah, if I go back to the directory here where I see the listing, now that we have the reviews stored and we're collecting the value, right, 5, 3, depending on if it's excellent, average, above average, now we can add a simple SQL statement here to calculate that average based on all the reviews. Because I think it'll be interesting to see if I'm looking at, Mike's Burger Bar, I want to see what the average score is for that restaurant. So we can go to that data page, business listings. And in the results page, in Caspio, we can add something that's called calculated field. And I'd like to have that appear over here somewhere. And then let's have the labels just read, average score. And then we're going to do select average, AVG, stands for average. The field name is called score. I just want to make sure people know what I'm doing here. So let's go to the tables. In my reviews table, you can see I'm using a field called score. That's the one that's collecting all the numbers, right? If it's excellent, it's a 5. If it's above average, it's a 4, and so on and so forth. So I need to get the average of all the scores from that table, which is next. Let me just add a space here. Oh, that's okay. And then we need the table name, which is this one here. This is the reviews table. Where business, what is it? Did I put an underscore here? I did put an underscore inside this table. Why did I do that? I don't have the same business ID in 2 fields. One has an underscore, one doesn't have an underscore. Okay. Where business ID equals target, and then you use target to be able to be more precise with the other field from the other table. So target, and then you're going to insert the business ID from the actual business table. And that's it. So we want to be able to get the score, the average score for that specific business. Okay, that's why we want to be able to do business ID equals target business ID. The reason why this one doesn't have an underscore, I don't know why I did that. Usually I don't make this mistake, is because my other table of businesses, you will see I didn't put an underscore, where in my review table, I added an underscore. I don't normally make this mistake, but that's why in my SQL here, one has an underscore. So this is from the reviews table, and this is from the actual business table. It's like using record level security, right? RLS. You match business ID to business ID in order to see information pertaining to that business. In the SQL, we do it this way so that we can get the average score for that business. Tally up all the scores received for that specific business. Okay, we click finish, and now in my results page, I should be able to see that average score of 4.3, or 4 in this case, because it only has 2 reviews. 5 and a 3, which averages out to 4, right? So if I go to my details, you will see we have a 5, we have a 3, and we have a 5, which averages out to a 4. One data page left. How we're doing on time? I only need 2 more minutes of your time, and we are done with today's live stream. So when I log in as the owner, not only should I be able to update my profile of the business, I should be able to respond to those reviews. And that's very easy to set up. So let's go into our data pages. One final one left to build. Create data page. And this time, you can use any layout if you'd like. I'm going to go with the tabular format. We're going to hit next and use the data source reviews table. Manage reviews as the owner. blue style, localization English, and restrict access to the owner that's logged in, right? Not everyone should just be able to respond to that review. Only the owners should be able to respond to the review. Hit next. So here it's up to you if you want to create the search form to be able to locate those reviews. Maybe you're receiving a lot of reviews and it might make sense to have a search capability, right? So let's do that. So create the search form, definitely enable RLS because you only want to be able to see reviews left for your business, not somebody else's. Okay, so that's very important. Sorry about that. I have my mason jar that I drink my coffee from. I keep hitting it. We hit next. All right, so let's search based on, I think score would be a good one. I want to be able to see all the 1-star reviews versus 5-star reviews to locate them quickly. Maybe we want to search based on the reviewer name. You know, let's have 2 search fields. Reviewer name can be, you know, contains just to speed things up. And then the score itself, we can have this be a drop down. Once again, I should have a lookup table, right? That's best practice. I didn't do that. So let's just say any score, delete the value, and then we're going to say the dollar symbols here. Oh, sorry, not dollar symbols. I apologize. Excellent. Now I have to retype this again. Above average is a 3. Above average. I know I made a mistake again. Why can I think my keyboard is acting up. That's a 3. That's a 4. Below average, that's a 2. And poor. That's a 1. All right. 5 years later. So we have our 2 search fields. They're all completed. We're going to hit next. And now we can display the reviewer's name. We have the review itself, the score, date posted, and then I should have, as the owner, the ability to respond to that review. So we include all 3 of these fields. Give me a second, give me a second. Yeah, respond by, but we're actually going to use a authentication field because it knows who I am when I logged in. So yeah, that's good. Okay, let's hit next. I want the inline edit capability. Now, if you want owners to be able to delete the reviews posted by just any random user, I mean, I would keep it credible, you know, so that owner doesn't have that capability. But again, you can allow them to delete reviews posted by other people. I don't know. It's up to the person building the app, I guess, whatever the scope is for the application. So we hit next. Now, reviewer name, if you go to the editing tab, I don't want the owner to be able to change the reviewer's name, right? So we don't want them to be able to edit this information. That was posted by a reviewer. Okay, same thing with the review. I don't want the owner to be able to change that. Same thing with the score. And also same thing with date posted. All of that should be display only. In other words, read only to the owner. However, with these 3 fields, responded by, let's make this field hidden and use the authentication field to stamp the owner name. Yeah, I don't need to type in my name. I can make a mistake. You can leave it like that where they type in their name each time they respond to a review. But we already captured their name when they registered, right? So we have that name in the database. So we can just stamp the name of the owner as opposed to having them type it out manually, right? And then the response is going to be a text area. Make that field required. If they are responding, make sure they put something in that field, okay? Because that's the response going back to the reviewer. And date replied is going to very simple timestamp here. So that we stamp when we responded to that review. Hit next. Again, I like to hide the record count, and let's have date posted. I want to be able to see the latest review first. Hit next. No need for interactive sorting, and no need for a details page because I have everything displayed on the results page. We hit finish, and that's it. The whole application is done. So we're going to use the Notepad++, and using the Reviews tab, we're going to paste our deploy code, save it, and using WinSCP, we're going to push it live. Okay, doke. Reload, and there is the ability now for the owner to be able to find a review. If I have any poor reviews, which I don't, it's going to say no records found here in just a second. If I want to find all of the excellent reviews, there's only one. Give me all the reviews. And now if I want to respond to this review, you can see how this information here is display only, but now I can say, thanks, Ned. I appreciate it. Hit update. There are other things that you can add here, right? You can add an email to notify the owner automatically that somebody left a review for their restaurant. Okay, so they know they need to log in to leave that review. If you had a casual reviewer signing up and registering, you can also notify them that the owner posted a response. But I made it kind of like Yelp where the owner can respond, but there's no thread like where, now the reviewer can respond back again. It's just a one simple reply by the owner, but there's no communication thread between the owner and the reviewer, And now on the front end, if we go back to our business directory and we go over here, you can see that response by the owner. Okay. If the owner never responds to that review, then this information here would be hidden, because that's what we did in the advanced tab. We said, if blank, hide that field, right? So very simple mini Yelp, I guess, if you will. You can turn this into a freemium model where any business can sign up. But if there is an incentive behind it, especially if you have a community of, let's say, 10,000, 20,000, then the business might actually pay you a small fee to manage their listing and add more additional information regarding their restaurant or restaurants, right? And now they can pay you a small monthly fee to have their profile be visible here, because it's revenue for them as well to be able to, for people to find their place and restaurant. So yeah, that's it for our application. 8 data pages all in all, built in less than an hour. Really, you can build this in 20 minutes if you know what you're doing, once you figure out what to do. But as I always tell everyone else, building this out is very quickly in Caspio. The most time-consuming part are the aesthetics, the look and feel, okay, to make it look nice and presentable to the end user. That's usually what takes a little bit more time. But if you want to learn more about that, we did so many live streams in the past to make things look much nicer and polished. All right. Thank you all for attending. Happy New Year. I'm hoping to bring more content this year for the live stream. You should be, I don't want to say this, but at this point, Jim, you should be this fast. At this point, I would argue that you might be at the same speed as me. So, look, the honest answer here is everyone struggles a bit with the aesthetics, and until you start diving into it and poking around and dabbling with how things look, the way I work is I make one small change to my field. I always like to refresh the web page to see what it looks like, right? And just constant back and forth between Caspio and your data pages until you're satisfied with how things look. It is what it is. But that's what not just with Caspio, with any application you develop for the web, it's just fine tuning all the little details about your app. Like riding a bike, once you get back into it, everything comes back all at once. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate it. Again, if anybody has any ideas for the live stream, I usually like to take requests. I'm going to consider the PWA Progressive Web App and see what we can do with that for the live stream. It's slightly technical. I could see the benefit. However, because it doesn't have the offline capability, it kind of defeats the purpose of using it. And we don't want to touch APIs. With APIs, anything is possible, but we don't want to do that because it's overly technical for attendees. So I'll see if I can find a happy medium to the PWA. Just remember that even if you, let's say you're on your phone and you go to this URL, okay, on your phone, okay, you go to that URL. There's an icon that you can click to bookmark that URL. And when you bookmark it, it creates the icon on your phone. So when you click on that icon, it brings up this web page. Okay. But I get the need for PWA because it behaves and looks like a native app. It doesn't have like, I mean, you can set it up to look however you want, you know, without the burger menu. It looks different than the actual like responsive mobile app that you would see from the browser. Long way to go. All right. I'm here if you need anything. Thanks, Ned. Okay. Thanks, Ned. On my way to In-N-Out for 3x3. You're welcome. Yeah. Get that animal style In-N-Out. You know, that's the only way to go. That's what I'm here for, to get your taste buds running. All right, I appreciate you guys coming back. Again, Happy New Year to everyone, 2024. We'll see you in 2 weeks. I don't have the topic available just yet, but if you come back to our YouTube channel and refresh, I usually try to make it live within a couple of days. So I do have a couple of things in the pipeline as far as topics, but I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize them. But we'll see. Or maybe I'll just mesh them all together into one session because they're kind of like one-off feature type that people want to see. I don't want a live stream that's only 2 minutes long. I need to be able to either combine them all together or just pick a use case that uses all of those features in the app. Again, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate it as always. Without your attendance, we don't have a live stream. So as long as people keep coming back, we will always have a need for a live stream. And I know I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway, that you don't actually have to tune into the live stream if you don't want to. If you have something else going on, you can mute me. It's just your attendance that counts. Okay, so as long as you're here, put me on mute, minimize me, put me away, and then continue working on whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, so thank you so much. Happy New Year, and then we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, take care. Bye-bye.